And welcome back to the next episode of Talk Smack with Mac. I got another badass motherfucker on the pod, guys. Big man Al Marro. How you say it? Last name?
Marro. Yep, you were man, right.
You got an upcoming fight coming up September 11th.
Are you ready? Let's talk smack.
Cagewars. I'll make sure I put the description in put the link in the description so you guys can watch. But I've been excited. I've been talking to a few guys that have some fights coming up on the 11th, but you're a big man. You know, the heavyweights to get in there and you guys get to throw in them fucking bombs and it's really exciting. But anyways, bro, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. I won't lie though, you've cut out a couple times already.
Oh man, it's the worst.
Just letting you know.
You know, with these Zoom calls, you got to kind of like take what you can get. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
If you know, whenever you get in Vegas and you have a fight in Vegas and shit like that, you can come down to the studio and hop on in person and we could talk, you know, more organic conversations.
Sure.
But Al, I want to get to know you. My people that watch Talk Smack with Mac, my smack talkers, we want to get to know you a little bit. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing. How did you get into fighting?
I started when I was 12 because it was funny. I watched the Family Matters episode when Steve Urkel was getting picked on and I was bullied a lot too. And he boxed this guy. And although he lost, he got respect for everybody. So how it wound up happening was it was 7th grade. I was 12. And I challenged this kid who was like the badass of our grade to a fight. And I didn't know what I was doing and I lost. So I basically asked my dad, I got to get into boxing. And he said, all right, cool. So we found my boxing coach, who's like a second father to me at this point. And I've been with him ever since. I'm 24. So it's been 12 years I've been doing it.
12.
So I got into that. And then I got into wrestling when I was 14. I can now, yeah.
Oh, all right, cool. I switched the link over on my Wi-Fi. So hopefully it works a little bit better. It's fucking, I moved my studio to a different place, different area of the house, and like the connection is weird. And
yeah,
you know how Wi-Fi goes, but I'll start to get this back. Yeah, all I said was 12 years of boxing. You must be pretty damn light on your feet and know how to, you know, twerk your punches and shit like that.
Yeah, that was really the big importance with my gym was our coach wanted us to move our hands. It didn't matter necessarily how fast it was, but he wanted us to move our hands. And he said for my size at the time, I was still maybe 168 pounds. I was middleweight. But he said, you know, you move your feet and your hands for your size at a pretty good pace. Now, weighing in at about, 100 pounds more than that, about 260, I still got the same speed, if not a little bit faster, just from experience and, not using as much energy. So that was always my claim to fame, is that I felt like I always hit a bit harder than the next guy and I was a bit faster than most of the heavyweights or light heavyweights. So
yeah, being able to go with your body and snap those punches when you got a big guy that could snap those punches with speed. And you said you're 268, 265 pounds.
Yeah,
that's fucking deadly, man. Somebody is going to be getting laid out. So you said you started wrestling at 14. That was just a little bit after boxing. Which one do you like more?
I like boxing more than wrestling. I got into wrestling because there was a kid on the wrestling team that was bullying my friend. So I beat him up, and then the coach found out about it and said, I tell you what, I won't report it to the office if you join the wrestling team. I said, all right, fine. So I joined, and I sucked my first year. I think I maybe won 5 matches out of however many I had, 40, 50. I was 168, but I'd have to drink up to 182 to wrestle 220 pounds. I'd have to wrestle 220 pounds still. So I was like weighing in. I'd usually wrestle because all it is you're drinking is water weight. So I'd weigh in at like 178 after you piss a couple of times. And that was about it. And I got murdered. And I was never very good at wrestling in high school. It wasn't until really my year that I started college wrestling is where I finally started picking it up. And then that summer is when I started mixed martial arts with Duff Holmes, actually. So all happened really at 14. So I started relatively young, but boxing was really my main focus. I won most of my championships and trophies in boxing.
What kind of competitions did you have in boxing, like Golden Gloves and shit like that?
I never competed in Golden Gloves. I won the Silver Gloves, which is basically Golden Gloves for kids that are 17 and under. But I won a few advanced tournaments. I won a New York State tournament as far as like being 18 and older went. I was 18 when I won that. And then and I won a few regional titles and stuff. But I won Region 1, which is near New York, Massachusetts, and a couple other places. I won Region 1 for silver gloves 4 times, and then I won Junior Olympic Nationals once, and then Junior Olympic New York State 3 times. And when I was younger, but I never really competed all that much in boxing when I was older because I moved to heavyweight. It was the first time I really saw some adversity was heavyweight because I noticed they could take the shots a little bit better. But the name of the game with amateur boxing is not so much you're trying to kill them with one shot. You're trying to get them out with a bunch of accumulations of shots. But heavyweight, I fought in boxing. I won 5-1. And then after that, I was more interested in MMA because the competition started to repeat itself. So if I fought this kid, I remember this kid from West Point Army. I fought him. I beat him once. He beat me once, and then I beat him 2 more times. I fought him, 3-4 times, and it just started becoming those tournaments. It was facing the same guy every single time, and I got annoyed. We tried going to other states, but the thing is with boxing, there's not like MMA is, even on the amateur spectrum, they don't match you up ahead of time. You show up, you make the weight, you bring a book, and they say, okay, we got someone in your weight class, get ready to go. And that's how it goes. It's kind of like wrestling in that sense, but even in wrestling tournaments, they seed you. So you really see who you got if you win, lose. In boxing, no, you show up and that's it. If there's only 2 guys that show up in your weight class, they might match those 2. That and finding someone with over 50, 60 boxing matches at heavyweight turns out was a bit of a pain. Yeah. So I just kind of said, you know what, let's shift to the MMA thing. I like competing in mixed martial arts a lot more because it's just simpler. Boxing was very, very annoying to get matchups all throughout, especially when I was 195 pounds or 15, 16 years old. You'd be surprised. There's not a whole lot of kids my size, my age at the time.
No, I definitely can't see. That's a bigger, heavier guy. Even guys on the football team on the O-line, they're similar weight, especially 15 years old. I think I weighed 135 when I was 15.
So it was hard. It was really hard to find guys. So there was a lot of, they would call them fundamental bouts, but because of my experience, I would fight guys that were 18 through 21. And I was 14, 15. But the thing is, I was good and big enough, strong enough, or stronger than them that they actually counted them towards my USA boxing record at the end. So I don't know the exact. I'd have to go back to my coach and ask for the book, but I know I've had at least if not 60, I've had in the mid 50s of amateur boxing matches. I couldn't tell you the exact record.
When you fight, when you are in the octagon now and you have an MMA fight, how does it translate with boxing? I know there's different stances and you got to protect against different things. Do you ever find yourself reverting back to the boxing days?
So as far as the different stances go, it really depends. I feel like a lot of people in MMA have the bad conception that every boxer just stands off to an angle, which is a square, which isn't entirely true. I boxed more open because I was able to move my head a lot easier. A lot of guys like that would. But people say, oh, if you stand at a bladed stance, I said, I've never met too many boxers that actually do that. And when they do, in MMA, of course, you're going to get blasted. But for me, I never really had to change my stance. As far as boxing went, though, I never felt like I got outstruck. There was one fight I had. It was my 3rd MMA fight. And my 2nd one, actually, I should say, I lost by TKO, which I still disagree with. It was more of a slip than it was a shot. And then it was and I love, if Tim ever sees this, Tim, I love you, but I thought I slipped. And then and then the 3rd fight, when I actually started to box and I started to use my hands a bit because I had a stress fracture in my lower lumbar spine, I had pneumonia. So I took a long time to get going in that, but I said, all right, because basically what it was going to be is if I don't get him out this round, then my back, I can't move anymore. I'm going to basically throw in the towel in between rounds. That's what I said was going to happen because I couldn't move. So that's when I said, okay, I got to go after him. But as far as using that, on the amateur circuit, I haven't met a whole lot of people that can match me with the boxing. I've been canceled out with kicks once or twice and the takedowns were there. It's really mixing it together is where I found issue at first because, I wrestled, and I boxed. I said, oh, that's great. So I got those two tools, but mixing them into actual mixed martial arts is really hard. I noticed like in the center of the cage, it's very difficult to get me down. It's very difficult to hold me down because it's like a wrestling mat. It's wide open. You can stand up. I have more room to sprawl back. I got put against the fence in a couple of my fights and I had no idea what to do though. So now it's learning those things, with boxing is you got the gloves that are smaller. So yeah, I might hold my hands out a little bit farther than keeping them directly here so I can maybe catch a little bit more. But no, there's not a whole ton of a difference. At the end of the day, I'm going to get hit one way or the other. So you kind of deal with that as it goes.
Yeah. Do you still get butterflies and shit before each fight?
Oh, dude, I'm nervous now. I'm not even going to, especially the last 2 weeks, always get to me because it's the week before. I start thinking that because there's not much you can do. I always tell people about 2 weeks before. It's not like you're going to learn any groundbreaking material and absorb it that fast. Coming from a coach's standpoint, because I coach a lot too, is that I know for a fact it takes a very long time for someone to actually cement something in their head. So if you hadn't had that about a month ago, you're not going to learn a whole lot more. You can go over a few things, but at the end of the day, you got to go over like basics. Like I know virtually for our last week, most of the time is we go over defense to things, just brushing up on stuff, not even learning new things, just brush up on, okay, this is what it is. But yeah, I mean, today I was nervous at work the whole day because, I start thinking these questions, and although you have the correct answers to it, did I do enough? Am I in good enough shape? How hard does this guy hit? Is he strong? Is he fast? Is he going to be able to stuff a takedown? Can he take a good shot? And I don't know these answers. And that's the reason why I think most people get freaked out. I'm okay with opening up about that because I don't really give a shit what people think. It's like, oh, is he scared? Yeah, I better be.
That's human nature. And yeah. If you don't get scared, if you don't get nervous, that's when you should be a little afraid because that's when mistakes are going to start happening.
Right.
You get too complacent. You're not getting offline when you're throwing your shots. You're forgetting the basics because you don't have those nerves and shit. Fuck that. I get nervous for almost everything I do, but it keeps you on point.
My coach, my boxing coach always said that, and he used to be around Customato a lot. And those who don't know who Customato is, he coached Jose Torres, Floyd Patterson, Mike Tyson, all those guys. And my coach used to spar with Cuss's guys, and Cuss always used to talk about he used to say fear is the equivalent to fire. He said, if people weren't afraid, he'd send them to a psychiatrist to find out what's wrong. There's something not firing correctly. So my coach always used to say, if you're not bouncing up, if you're not feeling it in your chest or your stomach, so either you're not excited for it at all, you don't want to do it. And that happened to me for about 2 fights, actually. It was against 2 of my good friends, was Corey Norman and Yuri Panfarov, 2 of my toughest opponents. And I wasn't nervous at all because honestly, that was when I was going through like, some mental health stuff. And I just kind of sat in the back. I warmed up a bit, but at the end of the day, all I did was keep myself safe. I went home with not a mark on me. I wasn't bruised, damaged, and that's all I cared about. But now, this is the first time I'd say since probably my 3rd or 4th, I think my 4th MMA fight, I'd say, and I won that one, but I'm like, I won't say terrified, but I'm scared. I'm nervous. There's a lot of things. He's a big guy. He's put a couple people on their ass. Pretty sure he's got nothing but knockouts. And I never truly been knocked out. And sometimes you think about stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I know, like Cuss used to say, it's like fear is like fire. You can let it consume you or you can control it. So that's the idea is hopefully, like it always happens when I am excited for it, I get in the cage. I don't hear anything but his coaches, my coaches, and him breathing. And that's it. So
get that tunnel vision to get real focused. So you touched up on your next opponent just briefly, Carlos Pereira.
Yes.
I believe that's how you say his name. Do you know anything about him? Can you let the audience that's watching know anything about your upcoming fight?
Not a whole lot. I could tell you, I saw him fight a friend of mine, RJ Hayes, and I love RJ. But RJ got hit with an uppercut, and RJ kind of fell to the mat. RJ said that he hit like a truck, but I didn't really see much of a shot connect. But that's I hope I don't sound like a dick saying that, but it wasn't not on Carlos's end, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I've had that conversation with RJ before, but then I saw him at a grappling show. I was doing a grappling match, my first ever submission grappling match, really, or one of them. And they wanted me to fight Carlos. I had just fought the week before at 205, and they wanted me to fight him right then and there. And I'm like, oh, well, no, that's not happening. I just fought a week ago, and that promotion won't be named. But he wound up grappling against this guy. I asked him if he wanted to grapple against me since he drove so far to get there. He said no. He was tired and wanted to just go home and deal with it. I said, okay, fine. And then I told him in the locker room, I said, you ought to think about going to Cage Wars. And he fought Jeremy Woolfolk and put Jeremy on his ass, which at the time didn't surprise a whole lot of people because we didn't know who Jeremy was. Now we do, which makes it, in hindsight, a way bigger deal because how dominant Jeremy is and how much of a tank that guy is. He's the first one to really get him in trouble, and so I know Carlos, he's tall. I want to say he's like 6'2", 6'3". Last time from memory, he was not a very wide guy, but he's, lengthy. He's strong, shaking his hand. You can definitely feel his strength and everything else. I know he served. So, especially on September 11th, we should all thank him for that. Mm-hmm. And, but I don't know a whole lot about him. I know I want to say he might be a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and I don't know what a strength or weakness is to him whatsoever. So that's why, like I said, the fear of the unknown is really what it is with Carlos, but there's a lot more out there on me. You could probably get an idea of what I'm going to try and do.
Yeah. So you feel like he definitely has the upper hand. So going into this fight, you're a boxer. You've been doing this 12 years. You can go out there and sling them things. Carlos, you said that he's put a couple badass guys on their ass. This is going to be a fucking slobber knocker in there.
Yeah. And I think he won another fight. I don't know against two, but I'm pretty sure he won that by TKO as well. So obviously, he's got a game plan in mind too.
Yeah. Respect to Carlos. You guys are both some badasses. But I guess we're coming up on that little 20-minute timer that I like to keep it under, but I want to shotgun some questions at you and see a little bit about you.
Okay.
What is your favorite cardio activity?
Jump rope. I can skip rope for about an hour and not get bored of it.
Oh shit! Hey, jump rope is tough as fuck. So kudos to you. All right, you're top 5 fighters all time.
In MMA or boxing, I can do both.
Do both.
All right.
Let's do top 3 in both.
For boxing, who's like my personal favorites, who I look up to, or
your favorite guys?
So boxing, I can do 5 real easy. Rocky Marciano, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Roberto Duran, and then I'd probably say for number 5, a lot of people don't know the guy, is Bob Foster. I love Bob Foster. He was my coach, was his chief sparring partner. He was the heavyweight champion of the world for a long time. As far as MMA goes, number 1, Bas Rutten, number 2, Daniel Cormier, number 3, Dominic Cruz. 4, I probably have to go with Dan Severn and see if that's a flashback, if anyone knows. And then 5, I'd probably have to say someone like, 4, Michael Chandler, and then 5, I'd say Dan Severn. I love
Michael Chandler.
Michael Chandler's cool. He's actually a really cool guy. Yeah, I don't know if you know what Cameo is, but I sent him a Cameo just like, say, I'm a big fan, and he just sent me stuff for free, and it was cool.
Oh, that's another Michael Chandler.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
He seems really nice. I think a lot of it's misconstrued. Like
it's not fake at all. He gave me a phone call on some restricted number and just talked to me for like a half hour. I'm like, is this fucking happening? I'm like, I couldn't believe. Like, I just basically said, hey man, big fan. Just wanted some fight advice from you. And he called me and told me all these things. And I was sitting there like, oh man, that's awesome. So he's not fake at all, very genuine. And he literally says, I'm not going to have you pay, because it was like $50 to send him something. I said, screw it. He's one of my favorite fighters. But he said, I'm not going to have you pay for advice like this. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. And Michael Chandler has that fight coming up against Justin Gaethje. Is going to be absolutely
I'm rooting for him.
That's going to be a badass fight. Yeah. But all right. Every time I have somebody that's brand new that gets on my podcast, I sit back, I shut the fuck up, and I give you the spotlight to let my 13 people that watch Talk Smack with Mac. I let my 13 people know everything about you. You can tell them what you have coming up next, where to tune into your fight, social medias, anything you want them to know, this your time.
So I think the big thing is a lot of people have been talking about my YouTube channel, The Combat Corporation. And if you can see the gloves in the back, I got about 120 pairs of gloves ready to go. I review combat sports equipment, basically, whether it be gloves, mitts, shin guards. Then I have some technical breakdowns on there. You can find that on YouTube. We're at 3.5K subscribers, and I'm excited about that. So, join the squad is basically all I could say about that. As far as where to find the fight, if you go to cagewarsnewyork.com, you can find the stream on there. There's tickets left. However, they are selling out pretty fast. Cage Wars always does a good job. It's at the Rivers Resort and Casino. It's connected in New York. As far as things that people would want to know about me is I basically work as a behavioral specialist for at-risk youth. That's what I do for a living. And then in spare time besides training, I coach a lot and I play an ass load of World of Warcraft, and that's about it.
Warcraft. Oh shit! All right,
World of Warcraft. That's it.
Hey man, you game. Like what you like. Well, Al, I really appreciate you getting on Talk Smack with Mac. These shorter episodes, like I said, they're short, they're sweet, they're spicy. But I would absolutely love to get you back on the show, maybe after your fight. But yeah, man. That sums it up for the this episode of Talk Smack with Mac. Make sure you tune in to Al's fight coming up September 11th. I'll put the link in the description or where you can find the fight in the description. And make sure you check out his YouTube page. 3.5 subscribers. That's a lot of fucking work, man. Yeah. So shout out to you, Al. Good luck in your fight, bro. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man. Thanks for the time today. See you guys.